so most of y'all do know that I do guide for Alligator GAR. Of course, I'm 100% catch and release. I just had a trip today. We caught 3 over 6 foot and 10 fish altogether. So my clients were done early, so I decided to come back out here and get some baits out on my own and see if I could get myself a nice fish. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. And I'm gonna take y'all along for the journey and see if we can catch a nice fish on my tiny little 1/0 hook and use a tiny little small hook to catch an alligator gar. So stick with me, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I already have one bait rigged up. You can see my tiny little 1/0 Gamakatsu live bait hook, and I have it bridled to my bait. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on out and I'll show you how I rigged that up. For my rod, I got a Pin Rampage 2 and a Shimano Bait Runner 12,000D. This is pretty much the meta gear for alligator gar as far as I'm concerned. This will work for all sizes, even up to, you know, 9 foot. I'm gonna talk about my spot for a second. If you look straight where I'm pointing, there's a creek that comes out into the main river. And over here, the current starts coming out and around, kind of like this. And on the inside, right in here, is a nice little eddy. So the bait goes out and around with the current. And then the inside has this nice eddy, and these fish are just sitting in this eddy waiting for fish and dead stuff to kind of come to them. All right, so ready to get our first bait out. I'm gonna cast straight towards that creek, but not all that far. Only about 25 yards or so. I'll put them right there, put our reel into bait runner mode, and leave it like this. Put this down somewhere on the boat, and make sure that our line is ready to go out if we get a rod. All right, here's the stuff I'm gonna be using to catch an alligator gar. I've just got my tiny little hook. I've got some rigging floss, I've got a mortician's needle, a knife, and my bait. So in order to rig this, we're gonna take about a foot. So we're gonna take about a foot of rigging floss, fold it over. We're gonna make a triple overhand knot. Then we're gonna take that and we're gonna pass it through the end of our mortician's needle. We're going to take our bait and we're going to move a couple scales real quick. And then you're just going to pass the needle straight through the bait. At this point, you want to kind of hold the side with the knot. At this point, you want to hold the side with the knot and then pull on the needle. Now you're going to take this little tiny hook. I figured I'd show y'all on something that you actually know how big it is. That's how big it is, for the record, you know. Okay, so then you're gonna take one side, then the other side, gonna twist it, pass it underneath, twist it again, pass it underneath, and there we go. That's how we're gonna use our small hook. Okay, so we got one float here. I'm gonna send this other one back up this way because this one's kind of slowly coming down. Toss it right about there. Same deal, gonna put it in the boat with the bait runner on. Good, so we got both of those on with the bait runners. And I think I'm just gonna stay at 2 rods for now. So you might ask yourself, well, why are we using a little hook? And the answer is pretty simple. When you fish for alligator gar, a lot of times they swallow your hook. They can do it in 10 minutes, it takes them to swallow it. They can also do it in like 3 seconds too, as soon as they pick up a bait. We just got bit, I think. But yeah, so we want a little hook so we can't over penetrate the gar's stomach and puncture her air bladder. If you do that, they can't regulate their depth in the water anymore and they'll die. So we want to use a little tiny hook that doesn't affect these fish and doesn't hurt them, you know, in the long term. That's got to be better for the ecosystem and how I feel about it. So we're getting a run right now. All right, guys, so big run. Just kept going and going and going. So I'm following her. I'm backing down on her right now. Okay, so I stayed with my GAR on the run. She ended up going about 150 yards down. She's out here about 30 yards into the middle of the river for me. I'll show you. I don't know if you can see her, but she's right here. I'll point out with the rod right there in the middle. She's pulling line right now. That's her. So basically what I want her to do right now is I want her to go back up the river. If I can get her going steadily up the river, I'm gonna go ahead and set on her. That usually means they've already eaten. I'm guessing this is a pretty big fish. I mean, it's possible this is a giant, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Guys, this is either a really big fish or not, so let's go ahead and try. That's a good fish. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's a good fish. So right now I'm towing myself to her. Oh yeah, she's huge. We might not ever get to see her. She's trying to throw the hook. Hopefully my hook set was good. I don't know, guys. She might throw the hook on this one. Feels like a big fish. It keeps coming up. All right, I try to set one more time on it. That's a big fish. Maybe not as big as I thought. I saw her for a second. Strong. Maybe 6 foot. Golly. I can't bring her up here. There she is, guys. Wow, she's fat. Look at that, alligator gar on a small hook. Wow, look at how big she is. That's insane. Wow, guys, how cool is that? So strong. I just literally can't bring her up here. I'm honestly trying. She's just that strong. There she is, guys. So fat. You see her mouth open right there. All right, guys, check that out. Honestly, I'm just gonna release her here in the water. I don't need pictures with her. I've caught plenty of these, but there she is. I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all real quick. She's about 6 foot, probably about a 33-inch girth or something. All right, guys, alligator gar on a small hook. I'm gonna go ahead and send her on off. I've caught a ton of these fish. I don't feel like pulling her out of the water or into my boat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut her on off and let her go. But just goes to prove you don't need a giant hook to come catch these fish. This is probably about a 110-pound fish. She's absolutely gorgeous.
All right, guys, absolutely amazing fish. Prehistoric dinosaur right there. She's been on the planet for 147 million years. Wow, beautiful.
All right, guys, I wanted to talk real quick why that tiny little hook works for alligator gar. The closest thing I can compare it to is actually firearms and armor penetration. So with firearms, what actually works is a really light, fast-moving projectile. And it's actually the same thing with hooks and alligator gar. A very small hook moving very quickly with a lot of, inertia and force behind it actually has a lot more chance of going through armor than something that's bigger and slower. So that's pretty much it for me, guys, and I appreciate y'all so much for coming along with me. It's getting kind of nasty out here, and I'm looking at a big old rain cloud behind me. So I think I'm gonna run to the ramp, hopefully beat that rain cloud. I appreciate y'all so much. Don't forget to hit that like button and leave me a nice comment, or an angry one too if you hate me.